Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Best Books Ever. I'm Tyler, and today we're continuing uh, Name of the Wind, Patrick Rothfuss, chapters 47 through 69. Realize today, next week will be the end of the book. For some reason, I felt like we were maybe like halfway through it. And I was like, oh, next week, end of it, so that'll be interesting. Don't remember how it ends. There's like a lot of little events that kind of come back to my mind, and some of them are definitely like, all right, book two, right? They're not happening in this book. But then I think, how's this book end? You know, we don't have too much left. I mean, relatively, a quarter of the book isn't that much. But then you think about how long the book is, and 23 chapters, a lot can get done. Proof is with this section, so as always, start with the end. And this is definitely where we see that the story and like Kvothe, or I guess Kote, kind of does say it in one of the interludes. He says something to the effect of like, this is always where the story was going. This is always going to be like where it was heading, I guess. And like what it was kind of revolving around was Denna. And so a lot of that, especially in the latter half of this section, and it even ends that way too. Where the last big thing that happens is that he gets the note, and he realizes that he missed Denna. A while, I still didn't quite understand where he was. Like, I guess he didn't visit Anchors for a while. Or maybe he was, no. Was he out for a little bit? You know, because of the injuries? I don't remember. Even when I was reading it, I didn't understand. I was like, how have days passed? You know, because he didn't say that he was out for days after after the whole fishery incident. But anyway, he missed it. Her wit is in the letter, which is nice. She has a lot of that. Even her postscript about like definitely not judging the tidiness of his room, I thought was funny. But he missed her again, and this is kind of something that we've seen a bunch so far. Most likely, we will see more of it. Even Diak was like, yeah, this is kind of what happens, is that she'll just leave out of nowhere, drop of a hat, and she might be gone for a few days. You might not see her for a few months. And it did seem like Kvothe was finally getting, not really pinning her down, but at the very least, scheduling some times to meet up, rather than just running into her by happenstance. So he does miss her, and that's really the worst part, right? Because it seems like whenever he can't see her, or or it is one of those things where he, even from their first encounter with the wagon or whatever, to their next encounter at Aeolians, it was like, okay, like more than enough time has passed where it's like, haven't really seen her that much. He still definitely thinks about her, but it's like, it's not that strong because, it's something that happened a while ago. As more time passes, that's just, how time works. But now that he's seeing her multiple times in like a much shorter time frame, now that she's gone again, it's like, oh, it just hurts even more all over again. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything. We would assume that we see her again. Again, even from the interludes, you can kind of glean that Kvothe and Denna already do have some sort of relationship, but we're not really sure what it is. But he does at least see her again. Even going back to the last part when we were talking about Bast. Oh no, it was this part. It was this part. Sorry, the parts are so long. That it feels like it was last week. But yeah, we do even have a part here where, even Bast mentioned that he did see Denna once. Which again gets into the whole weird thing of like, Um, where's Denna now? You know, if we're talking about with Kvothe in present time when he's talking to Bastion Chronicler, it's like where's Denna now? We still have a book and a quarter of a book to go with here because we have the quarter of this one and then all of book two, and then book three, which doesn't exist and hopefully exists at some point in my lifetime. But it's like, what happened to Denna? Because right now it seems like they're definitely, you know, again, ships passing in the night, but whenever they are together, it does seem like he is the one that keeps her attention. And you know, not to compare it to like, you know, a goldfish or something, and not in that way, but more so like he's the one that she actually likes. Um, so it does seem like they are building towards that. But now we have Kvothe in present time again talking to Bastion Chronicler, and they're clearly not together. So what happened? Where's the relationship go? Do we see any big events between them in this book or next book? And then book three, which doesn't exist, but hopefully will at some point. So that's me rambling about that because a lot of my notes, because a lot of this book, this section 47 through 69, have to do with Denna. You know, so we have what I just talked about. I guess we'll just run through all the Denna stuff because there's a lot of it. Clearly, right? Um, uh, Diak was talking to Kvothe about Denna because he does kind of have a thing for her, but you know, at this point, he's past it where he's like still have a fondness for her, but I understand that I'm not like actively like pursuing her or anything. He does reveal a lot of information to Kvothe about Denna. Gives a better understanding of maybe Denna's her just like life philosophy. Again, her like bouncing from place to place, her not having any family or friends or any sort of connections, which I do like was compared to Kvothe. And then Diak was like, well, it's not quite the same. She's a woman. And it's like in this, in this age or whatever, it's like there's not really much she can do that's respectable. So her going around from place to place, her being very beautiful, but then also having a great singing voice, that kind of makes all the other women resent her. So that kind of cuts her out of those social circles. And then her attracting so many of the guys, but then what if, we reach a situation where they feel slighted? Now she might feel like she's in danger, or she might just feel like, well, this might be a powerful person. I got to get out of here. Maybe that's why she changes her name so much. And then also with her accepting a lot of these guys that are with her, not getting too close to them, but just close enough to get a place to stay or get some food or get some more clothes. It's like on the outside, you could see how that's, she's just using them. But once you get into her situation, it's like she really has nothing else, like her only other option is to do a more detestable version of what she's doing now. So again, it kind of puts, and I'm pretty sure Cole says it where he's like, this has put her situation in a new light for me, like, a new understanding. So yeah, it's nice there because again, that's one interesting thing about the relationship so far between Kvothe and Denna is that they haven't really talked about each other all that much. We'll get into it in a second, but it is just a lot of like here and now, maybe the future, but really just enjoying each other's company. And it definitely hasn't, moved into that next step, which is like, let's get to know each other. It even went back to their very first meeting with the cart when they first met. Kvothe even mentioned it where he was like, I didn't ask her about her past. She seems like, her like body language or whatever definitely seemed like she has some things in her past that she'd rather not talk about. I'm okay with that because I also have the same thing and I feel like she can tell. So it's kind of this mutual, unspoken agreement where it's like, we don't have to talk about each other's past. What we've been through, don't talk about it. We just talk about what's here and now. So yeah. So that was nice. But eventually, again, just looking at these chapters And clearly what Kvothe wants, again, we're not in Denna's head, so we don't know, but clearly from Kvothe's perspective, it's like at some point, you're going to have to get to know each other, you know? Um, and that doesn't just include who you are now, what you're doing now, or even what you want in the future. It does kind of include, you know, you do share your baggage with the other person. And especially with, like, again, we don't know Denna very well, but on Quo's end, it's like his kind of whole reason for being at the university um, is because of a very tragic event after tragic event after tragic event in his life. And also the circumstances in which he's there now. You know, I mean, even, you know, small, I mean, you know, not really small things, but like his poverty is like, oh, it's because it doesn't have a family. Oh, where's your family? Well, you know, there's this thing that happened. So everything kind of leads back to that, which isn't quite where the story started, which is funny because at the beginning of the book, that is what Quoth or Coat was starting to say, where he was like, that was one of his possible starting points is, okay, there's this thing that happened with the Chandrian and my parents, but he started before then. Um, but it does all kind of lead back to that as like the turning point in his life. Because even before that, it's like, let's say that the Chandrian business never happened. Would Quill still have tried to go to the university? Um, I think the chances are more likely than not. You know, just because of his mind, how quickly he picks things up, his curiosity. You know, even Ben was talking to his parents. We saw that about the university, and his parents didn't seem like they were objected to it, which I really do like too, because I guess I didn't mention this, but um, in other stories, we could have other parents that are like, oh well, that's all fine and dandy, but he's Edma Ruh, like he's gonna be Edma Ruh for the rest of his life. Like he can dabble in other stuff, but he is part of the Ruh, and he is not doing anything else. But they didn't seem like that. They were like, listen, man, Quill's special. You know, that's what he wants to do and change the world. Then that strangely enough, that is the least that we expect of him. At the very least, we expect him to alter the world in some, you know, some grand fashion. So if that is how he does it, then, um, yeah. Getting back to Denna, um, let's see. Going back a little further, going back in time, Quoth does miss his lunch with Denna. So that was before the letter in which they were going to meet up again, which Quoth didn't know about. Denna was just kind of looking for him. This was the lunch that he planned, and then the whole fire thing, and we'll get into that after because we're kind of going through the Denna stuff. But that was very unfortunate. So we missed another lunch. So again, it's just this repeating cycle of like, when they get together, it's incredible because then they're able to enjoy each other's company. But there's so much of like, oh, I missed you there. You know, you're not at the Aeolian, you're not at Anchors. You know, oh, I went to the hotel you were, or the whatever, the inn you were staying at. Oh, you left in the middle of the night. What am I supposed to do now? How do I find you? So a lot of that. Which again, you know, I think it's easy for us. Uh, you know, I think it is mostly right, but I think it is easy for us to say, well, clearly it's Denna's fault. Like Denna's the one who bounces around, just leaves towns for maybe months at a time. But I also think Quoth isn't the hardest one to pin down either. You know, we are getting into him at the university and him having so many responsibilities. Again, he could be at Anchors, he could be at Aeolians, he could be at in class somewhere, he could be at one of his friends' places, Medica with Ari, um, Eladin, maybe he's warming up to, given the end of the book. Hopefully, there's something there. And also, he gets into a lot of trouble, which brings him to, you know, places that he would never really be in. Like, you know, he just got almost killed, which we'll talk about. Don't worry, but he didn't almost get killed. So it's like, you know, I mean, him even saving Fela, which we'll talk about as well, from the fire is like, well, that puts you out. Like, you're the one who missed our lunch. You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't me. Like, I was ready. I was here. Again, it's not that he shouldn't have done that, but I think Quoth is largely not it, the majority of the time, but I think he is also largely to blame. It's not just Denna that's hard to track down. Um, I mean, again, Denna was gonna go to, uh, you know, Denna had to go through a lot of inns to find him eventually at Anchors, and it's like, well, whose fault is that? It's Quoth for messing with Ambrose, and then Ambrose is blackballing her from the inns. So now Denna's just going around like there's 30 inns I could try. So I just don't want all the blame to be on her because I don't think it's right. Um, Before that, we do have Denna and him meeting again, or I guess this was the first real time after Anchors. And we do finally get confirmation that Denna does remember him, which was a big thing. I never understood it. Even reading it the second time, I was like, why do you think she wouldn't? Like, immediately assuming she wouldn't remember you. And I'm not saying that's crazy, but his reasoning didn't make any sense. Where he was like, oh, she didn't mention it. She didn't mention my name. She didn't, mention the time, when we first met. So clearly she doesn't remember it. And then when um, she kind of reveals it, I guess, which isn't a big reveal. She just kind of says it. Kvothe is surprised and gives his reasoning, and then Denna's like, but you didn't mention it either. You also never called me by my name. You never said, oh, remember when we were, oh, I remember you from when we were on Rayon or something, Rayon's cart, and we're going, so like, I also thought maybe the same thing. So, but that was nice. They both remembered each other. And yeah, it's just very wholesome. I think their relationship so far. Um, yeah, I think there's only a couple more things during that time. This is a great conversation they have, and I think it really does. Again, no spoilers, but I think going forward, I think this is a big indicator of Denna's sort of outlook on life. I think this sort of energy and this attitude, you can see it when she talks about certain things. That's all I'll say in terms of future stuff, future conversations that she has with Quoth. But her whole idea where she has this whole tirade about roses. She's like, all the guys always give me roses. It's a nice gesture, but it's like, why roses? What she say? She's like, you've all gotten your romance from the same book, right? And it's like there's dozens and dozens of other flowers. Why always roses? Um, and then she forces Quote to be like, what flower do I remind you of? And he goes to all the flowers. He's definitely stalling. Maybe he's trying not to pick the wrong answer. He eventually comes to the Salus flower. Explains it. I don't remember the exact reasoning. It's like, oh, it grows on a vine, so it's mostly in shadow, but it also finds pockets of sunlight to grow. Whatever, right? She says, oh, you think too much of me. He's like, oh, you think too little of yourself. She kind of brings levity back to the situation and says, you're wrong. Daisies was the correct answer. But I think the undertones of the conversation is what's important, where I think she is, given what we know later in the book, with again the conversation with Quoth and Dayak, us understanding her situation maybe a little bit more as to why she's always hopping around from place to place. She's seen with a lot of guys. I think I think you can understand her frustration when it comes to this. Again, boiling it down to what flowers guys give me. Um, I think it just says a lot about her experience with all of that. I mean, even the small tidbit she gives about her experience in Annalyn, where she's like nothing good but nothing unexpected or whatever, and it's like clearly she has a very difficult life, different than what Quoth has had. Um, but it's definitely more from like a woman's perspective in this world. And I think it just highlights any interaction that she has with Quoth, because she is expecting him to say something different. Like every other guy, she's just like, oh, whatever, again, I think she is using them for certain things, but also like maybe hoping, hoping that there will be a standout. And then you get to Quoth, and in her mind, she's immediately like, oh, well, Quoth would never give me a rose. He would never do that. Again, they've only met each other a handful of times, maybe less, but it's like their understanding of each other, I think, is way more immense than it should be. And so for him to run down all these flowers, and her kind of get frustrated at certain options that, that he suggests, and then finally hitting to Selas and being like, you pick a flower that I've never heard of before. Which I think she's upset, because she's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to, like, is this a good choice? But then also I think she is happy, because she's like, not only did you not go with the most boring answer, you went with something that now I have to like look into it. Now this is like a little side mission for me, is to find this flower. Because I don't think anyone is as curious as Kvothe is, but I do think Kvothe and Denna share a lot of what's it, a lot of the same temperaments. Yeah. So again, just seeing a Quoth is different, them giving an answer like that is nice. And this does kind of go to a general feeling I have about them, which is where is it? Yeah, I think this is the last one anyway. Last Denna note. Love seeing them interact. I was thinking about this earlier, where it's always interesting when you get a character in a story, and one of the big things, maybe even the thing that defines their character, is their cleverness, is their wit. Are the different mental gymnastics that they can go through. Their brain and their mouth being perfectly in sync, right? And then you get another character, maybe it's a love interest, maybe it's a antagonist, maybe it's a best friend that gets introduced or something like that. And suddenly you have another character that can match them. Then at that moment forward, you're like, I just want to see these two on screen, or on interact in a book or whatever. That's all I want to see, is them interact. And I feel like that's how I feel about Kvothe and Denna, because that is probably close to defining characteristic. It is his cleverness, whether it comes to more practical things, like how he was able to get through with Tarbine, or even get to the university, or if it is his words, right, when it comes to him talking to Ambrose, him having his spars with Ambrose, I should say, him trying to convince the masters of whatever, Eladin to teach him, or him to lay off, probably his his most defining characteristic. And then you get Denna, and I think part of it is to is her being very good at disarming him, whether she realizes it or not. I think she does, but just her being her, I think, disarms him. But then it is like, oh no, she can match his wit very well. Even with this conversation with with the flowers, or even the little moments they have, like when she was able to snatch him away from Willem and Simon, right? Or even in the letter that she gives him at the end. I think that's probably one of the reasons why he does like her so much, is because this is nice to have someone that I don't know, shares that love of words, I guess, and that love of like verbal sparring. Probably kind of reminds him of of his own family, whether it be his actual parents, or the other people in his troop. But it is nice. So again, every time they're interacting in some way, I'm like, I just want to hear them. I just want to hear their dialogue. it's good. It's good. So yeah, that's all the Denna stuff. Like I said, Denna is a very, very important part to the story when it comes to Kvothe, at least in like the last half or last 2/3 of this part. We'll see. Again, odds are, no spoilers, but like odds are we'll see her again. I think it would be, again, even if I were to not have read past this part at all, I would think it would be crazy for us to not see Denna again. The first time she left, it's like, okay, it's just another character. I mean, again, it's very similar to like, I don't know, Trappist or something, right? Where it's like, we'll never see Trappist again. Or Scarpy, maybe, would be a better example of like, we've heard of Scarpy from Coat, from Chronicler, but like, will we ever see him again? Maybe, maybe not. But very similar to Den in the beginning, where it's like, just another very interesting character that, helps Kvothe in some way or another. But now we see it. Now at this point, it's like we're in too deep. Like we've seen way too much of this character for us to never see her again. Under what circumstances, though? Can't say. Can't say the circumstances. Can't say when. Honestly, I don't even remember when. But yeah. So other than that, this isn't just a book about Denna. There are many other things. So, getting to one of the major events in here, we did have the fire in the fishery, where Kvothe does save Fela from the fire. Fela, he does kind of give her some compliments and like try to reassure her, but she probably would have been way worse off. I don't know about dead 100%, but like she would have been pretty bad, if it wasn't for Kvothe. So him jumping into action, him breaking was it dredge or something like that? Getting the water all over him, jumping in, all that stuff. Very heroic. It just adds to his reputation. So yeah, I thought that was very cool. And yeah, probably one of the only we have dangerous things every once in a while, but shocking for this to happen. Because even though the fishery is dangerous inherently because of all the tools and the sigildry that's happening and all that, it's like, I don't know, you really you just trust Kilvin. I think that's one of the, I don't know, just like one of the feelings that you get from his character is that he's very trustworthy. He's very sturdy, right? And, not only in stature but also in behavior. And so for this to happen in the fishery, you're like, couldn't happen. Crazy. You would think that going in, like, the fishery's never had an accident because Kilvin makes sure that everyone working here is cautious, right? But then later on, it's great because Fela does repay him with a new cloak, which is awesome because his old one got burnt up pretty bad. He did say way back towards the beginning of the book. When did he say it? I think it was... was it when he left Tarbine is when he got a cloak? I'm pretty sure when he left Tarbine he got a cloak and he was like, nothing better than a reliable cloak. And he lists off all the reasons why cloaks are great. So I'm getting a new one. It has all the pockets and it's like, it's like good quality. It's not just a secondhand one. I'm sure he truly appreciated that. We do have a little bit of Denna here where he does see Denna leave the Aeolian and it's like, oof, did Denna see him? Like, is she getting the wrong idea? But she doesn't chase after him, which I think shows a great amount of restraint. Because as that was happening, you're like, he's gonna blow off Fela and be like, oh, sorry, I just remembered I gotta go, or whatever, right? And she'd just be there like, oh, well, okay, and just kind of, I don't know, probably sad that she just having this nice moment with him, and then he left, but he didn't. He stayed. There's definitely a hole in his heart, a weight in his stomach that I'm sure a large part of his brain was screaming at him to go and chase after her. But he stayed, which was nice. Vela's doing her best, So that was cool. Again, glad we got to see more Fela, and they were really bigging up her character. In this part, like us being reminded of her working in the fishery, and then soon after he saves her, and then now giving him a cloak. It's like, is she, she maybe gonna get in the way? I don't know. Not like maliciously in the way of Kvothe and Denna. I mean, she doesn't even know about Denna, but like, what happens? What happens there? There's even some thoughts, and I guess we can get there right now with him and Devi, because Devi was being nice, maybe a little more than nice. Can't really tell. We do have Devi. Um, Beginning isn't really important when we talk to her. It's like, she gives out money, you know, scary when she wants to be. When she gets serious, it's like, nah, we're not. So I do like that, and it also makes sense of like why she's in the profession that she is, where she does not get pushed around. But what I wanted to talk about was just towards the end, where we see her kind of lighten up, and I think there was some, now that it's come and gone, there was maybe some foreshadowing of that when we first met her. Because it does seem like she wanted to talk and wanted to, she wasn't all business. It wasn't, she wasn't standoffish. But then Quoth was, nerves were flying out of him, and he was just like, loan, I need to loan talent, or I need to borrow talents, whatever. And she was like, oh, straight to business, huh? So now we kind of get that where, he compliments her collection of books. They bond over their banishment from the archives. Very interesting, too, because we know that it's been a while, it's been years since someone was banned from the archives. I wonder if the last person that was banned was Devi. And if so, why? What happened? You know? But that was nice, and then he pays off the interest because he's like, I could pay off the whole thing, but then I'll be broke, and I don't like that. And then it sucks because then soon after that, some bad things happen, and it's like, maybe I should have, I don't know. But I do like that, she's like, hey, maybe, come over here, play for me a little bit, talk to have some nice conversation with me. It's always nice. I'll let you borrow some books. Win-win. So I like that too. Again, another character that we get to be introduced into. Again, not a friend group like Fela is, sort of, because it's more university on her side. But it is like another character that we can have conversations with. I think she'll be a good ear to have in a similar but different way than Denna. So, hoping to see more of her. And also that maybe a bond over like the books, like what does she want to study? Like, is there gonna be anything there? So, yeah, another cool character. I guess now we're kind of just going through some random stuff. Another big thing that happened though was towards the end, he does get attacked by assassins, I guess. A few important things to note here. One, clearly the prime suspect, and really the only suspect, is Ambrose. Who else could it be? This is his style, right? Pay someone to do something for him, but he would have the money and the connections to get like real life assassins. So clearly that's what's gonna happen. It sucks. I mean, reason number one, Quoth almost died. But when we're pushing past that, because we know Quoth, as the reader, we know Quoth, and we know that this isn't going to scare him, right? He's not going to be like, all right, Ambrose, I'm done. I'm not interacting with Ambrose anymore. It's over. This has gone too far. I have so many other things to worry about. I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to lay low. Hopefully he just forgets about me or whatever, right? Hopefully someone else wrongs him and takes my place, as unfortunate as that would be. We know that's not gonna happen. You're gonna attack. Listen, we don't know it was Ambrose. We don't know. We don't have proof, which is why we can't go to the masters and be like, get this guy out of here. But we're pretty sure. Like we have a good feel, because like who else would want him dead? I mean, other than just some random like, like who would want him dead? I mean, even if the Chandrian came back, it's like, why wouldn't they just do it themselves? Like, why would they hire? It doesn't make any sense. It's got to be Ambrose. Now you're gonna put a hit on my life. You're gonna try to end my life. We know that Kvothe is about to come up with the craziest scheme, because again, he can't. Same as Ambrose, he can't directly try to harm him. If he cared way less about the university, he would. But this is like he needs this, right? Again, there's already so many other things that are keeping him from fully experiencing university, particularly the archives. But I don't know, man. Like, I just don't know what he's gonna do. I mean, he doesn't have the money to get him back. And the big thing here is that they had a dowsing device of some sort. They must have had his hair, maybe his blood. That was another thing, right? Because he threw the hair with leaves to distract him, and then he put the blood-soaked shirt in a bottle down the river and all that. So hair, blood, something like that to track him. Someone was able to get something off of him. Again, not sure how Ambrose would do that, unless he's been watching him real closely and was able to find something. I'm not sure. That's dangerous, because if they might have more hair, so they can just keep doing it. More blood. I mean, the whole dowsing thing that they had could still very much work. So, threat's not over. Threat is over for right now, presumably, but it's still out there. Yeah, scary stuff. As if he didn't have enough to worry about. Again, where it's like now he has to watch his back because there could just be assassins. Just like, you know. Interesting that they lost him twice though. It's like, don't you have a dowsing thing? Like, what is that not like 100% reliable? Or because Colt didn't even know you were there, so so it's not like he was doing stuff at weird times or. Another thing, we do get a little bit more Ari in this section. I think this is the only time we see her. He does go and bring Mola, which love Mola too. Very much a side character. Much more than our main ones like Denna and Simon and Willem and all that stuff. Love Mola though, because every time we see her, she does have just like a little bit of sarcasm with everything she says. And so like with that, she doesn't get tripped up by what Kvothe says, whereas most other people do, because again, Kvothe has a very sharp tongue, and I like that Mola's just like, get out of here, but he does bring her to go see Ari, because he's like, oh no, all that stuff, the like bone tar stuff, it went into the grates. That could go down and hurt Ari. That would be awful. She could be dead for all I know. But I do like that little interaction though, because he showed Ari to somebody else. One from Ari's side, it's nice that she didn't bolt, so that's great, right? I mean, I think that just goes to show how much she trusts Kvothe. But other than that, we do get another like an outside perspective. Basically Mola says everything that a sane person would say, which is like, you have to tell someone. And Kvothe is like, no, I'm not doing that, because if I tell someone, either she's going to duck under there and never see anyone ever again, and that's not helping her, or two, they're going to catch her and they're going to put her in the crockery with all the crazy, arcanists that have lost their minds, also not helping her. At least out here, she can have some sort of freedom. I can see her, I can give her some food and clothes and all that stuff. It's like, it's not like an amazing life, but I can't imagine that she would prefer either of the other two options. And Mola agrees. Mola agrees. So, because even that little bit of like, they're 100% going to throw her in the crockery with all the other crazy people. It's like she doesn't want that. No one's happy that way. At least out here, she's not like, as far as we've seen, I guess, we haven't seen her like have any like crazy spasms or just like lose her mind or whatever. Like she's just, she's kind of living out here, I guess. So, speaking of the archives, a little bit ago, but we have a couple things here that just getting real close to, again, Kvothe doing something they probably shouldn't. We already talked about the Ambrose thing. He's gonna get his revenge, and it's not good. We've seen him try to get revenge a couple times. One of them, he got lashed, which was not a pleasant experience. And then he also made a song about Ambrose. Was able to reduce the sentencing to him only having to write an apology letter, but still, it's like they're on you. Like you need to cool down. So we don't like that. And now we're here, and he's thinking about going to the archives again. Two indicators. One, he did talk to Monet about it. Monet absolutely refused to tell him, because it sounds like Monet knows a way, at least one way to get into the archives. Refused to do it. Good friend, because he knows Kvothe. He's like, Kvothe, you're gonna get expelled. You're gonna get caught. You're gonna get expelled, and then what? Then not only are you never gonna be able to get into the archives again, you'll never be able to study here, study anything. Where are you gonna go? What will you do? At least if Denna was here and maybe he could like run off with her or something, then there's that. But it's like Denna's gone. We don't know where Denna is, or when she'll be back, or if she'll even be back. So, and then two, he does have a little side comment when he's in Anchors with Willem and Simon. I forget who he says it to, but a little side comment of like, maybe I'll just get you drunk enough so I can slip past you in the archives. And then he's like, no, you can't do that. And then he's like, oh no, it's good, I was just joking. He's like, no, I've thought about letting you do it, but it's like, if you get caught, then you'll be expelled. I'll probably get expelled. Like this can't happen. So again, he's trying to weasel his way. We're not sure exactly how he can get in. I don't know about like, is there just like a side door? I don't think there's windows in the archives. I'm pretty sure he made a point to say that when he first went in. I'm pretty sure he described it as windowless. I think it was to like save the books, because like sun can like what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, like not burn, but like fade the book. Sun damage. That's why people when they get something of true importance, they put it in like a picture frame. They get like certain glass. I forget what it is. It's like UV glass or something. They get certain glass in it, and it helps with light, but also sunlight as well. So yeah. But anyway, how's he gonna get it? I don't know. Like, a side door seems trivial. Again, I'm pretty sure there's no windows. I mean, maybe he like sneaks in somehow. Are there invisibility spells that you could use? That seems overpowered. But I don't know. We'll see. He seems we did have a conversation with Lauren, and Lauren was like, Kvothe was like, here's all the things I would do, and Lauren is like, really, all that? Like, he seemed a little bit impressed. I was like, wow, he really like, he's not just trying to get in. He like really has a passion. And he says something that is very hard to translate, to really understand what he's saying. But he says something to the effect of, you just have to show your patience or something. You have to display your patience that you've given so far. You have to, It's like, what does that mean? Does it mean I just have to wait longer? Like, it just, like at least can't you give me a time frame? Say, next term, 2 terms from now, or something. It's so again, it's too vague for Kvothe to accept the answer. You know, it does seem from the conversation at the very least there is some wiggle room. It does seem that Lauren isn't 100% intent on never letting Kvothe back into the archives, but it's like Kvothe is like, I've missed out on months, months of research that I could have been doing. So not fast enough for him. Maybe he'll learn the name of Brick and he'll blow a wall in the archives. Very subtle. I already talked about the Devi books thing. And then these two things kind of go together, so we can end on that. Kvothe does earn his silver pipes, which is great. Very nervous, and then he does go up and perform the hardest song he's ever learned. He's ever heard. That's also the reintroduction of Denna into the story, because he needs a female partner to sing the other parts, and Denna takes it, which is great. Doesn't know it's Denna at first, but that's a great moment. String breaks, which is another crazy thing. Pretty sure that was also Ambrose. Walked away with what could be interpreted as binder's chills, so that he must use sympathy to break the string. All that stuff is ancillary, because he did get his silver pipes, which is great. First try, got the silver pipes. Again, just more proof. Again, if you ever go through a few pages in this book and you're like, I don't really think Kvothe is that good. He just does something more. Just give it a few more pages, and Kvothe will do something else to prove that he is just the strongest and most clever character in the book, in ever. So we're in the silver pipes, which is great. It's great for many reasons. Free drinks, I think. I think it's free drinks. Oh no, doesn't get free drinks. He does get free admittance into the Aeolian. There was the whole drink thing that he explained with like, if you order something if someone wants to buy you a drink, you order something not on the menu, money gets split. Very useful for him. And also when he performs, he can get like tips and all that stuff. So it does help out a little bit. Plus, with the free admission, like this has helped him meet a lot of people, especially Denna, because that's where he met Denna. And with Denna being with maybe some important people from time to time, they'd be gravitating to the Aeolian. So Kvothe can be there without having to be like, here's a jot, 2 jots. I don't remember exactly how much you get in, but because you only had to pay it once. So yeah, and then connected to that, Count Threp. He was very annoyed that he didn't realize, or he assumed too much, and he should have asked Kvothe when he first met him if he has a patron, because he does not, and now he realizes it, and he's like, I can't take on any more pupils. So he's very annoyed at that, but again, it just goes to show like there's probably a lot of other people that think that same thing, that are potential patrons, and they're like, well, clearly, someone that good, he already has someone. It's like, no, I don't. I am struggling for money. So again, I just thought that was really cool. And also him building a relationship with Count Threp, but also maybe other people. This also connects to the Ambrose stuff, where he's like, I'm not good at connecting with the nobility, but like fellow musicians will not turn their back on me because they respect the craft the same way I respect it. So again, in that little pocket, in that little corner of his world, he can at least move around freely, which is very important for him. But yeah, very hard for him to find a sponsor, but we'll see. Again, that's another question: will Kvothe find a sponsor? Who will it be? Will Threp lose somebody? I just don't think it, from our interactions with Den, there's also what he wants him to call him, but very confusing because now we have Denna, also we have Devi. It's like there's too many people, too many people whose names start with D. Come on, there's 26 letters in the alphabet. Doesn't seem like someone to be like, I am going to drop one of my musicians to get you. I don't think that'll happen. Will one of them back out and one of them find someone else or something, and then Count Threp was like, that sucks, but it's also perfect. But we will see, that is the thing with Kvothe, though, is that it seems like he is always being pulled in so many different directions, and there's always good things that come from that because he learns so much, he connects with so many, but then there are the bad things, like Denna. A big reason why he keeps missing Denna is because he has so much on his plate, has to worry about so much, and it spreads himself thin. And on a greater scale, it is like his push and pull between the university and the arcanum, and then the magic, and really his first love. And really, if it came down to it, if he had to give one up, I mean, we already know his thoughts on this when he talked to Kilvin, Kilvin very respectfully, again, very respectfully, but he does say like, music fades away or something while metal lasts forever or whatever, and then in his mind, Kvothe is like, metal rusts, music lasts forever. And so I think when it came down to it and he had to choose between the university or just arcanum in general and music, I think his heart would choose music. But again, I don't think it would ever come to that because they're both such a big part of his life, and they both drive him. So, but that is it. That is this section. Next time, we're finishing the book, chapters 70 through 92. I believe there's also an epilogue, which we'll read as well. But that is the end of the book. That will be the end of the book. Oh God. What else? Predictions. Let's see. Denna is obviously on the top of the list. Will we see her again in this book? I guess the biggest, will we see her again ever? But that to me is like, even without spoiling, it's like, come on, we're never going to see Denna again. Come on. That'd be insane. I think we'll definitely see her again. In this book, 23 chapters, given the past 3 weeks of experience, 23 chapters is a lot of chapters. A lot can happen in that. I think it's very possible for us to see her again. If I had to guess, and again, I don't even really remember if we see her again in this book, I would say, do we see her again? Because there's so much more that there's so much other stuff that I think this book kind of sets up for the end, right? Because we have like Ambrose. I think he is definitely going to cook something up for Ambrose, right? There's going to be a whole thing there. It's got to be. Almost killing him. Come on. His relationship with Devi. I'm sure we'll see a little bit more of that. More of his studies in general. We haven't seen anything of him lately. I could see us getting a little bit of that. He maybe possibly has the door to Eladin has cracked open just a little bit enough, and we see him have a brief, very weird conversation at the end. So maybe we get a little bit of him and Eladin together, able to mend that relationship that didn't really ever exist. More of him at the fishery, maybe making some more cool stuff. Performing at Anchors, of course. Yeah, we'll get more of that, I'm sure. Him performing at the Aeolian. Again, him possibly getting a sponsor. That would help immensely. But again, it's like splitting. It's like if he gets a sponsor, does it mean he has to perform more? Does that mean he has to travel more? Like, how is he gonna... Like, he does his studies at the Arcanum at the university. How's that gonna work? He did mention, kind of sarcastically, but kind of half serious to, to Kelvin of like, oh, maybe you should just promote me to Relar so I can help you. And Kelvin's like, I might just do that. So I thought that was cool. But yeah, there's just so much, and then just like the archives. Like, does he get back in there? Does he sneak back in there? Does that start a whole thing? Um, he hasn't been able to do anything about the Chandrian lately. About researching them. Does that come into play at the end of the book or by the end of the book? There's really a lot. So with all that said, does he see Denna again? It's like I could I could see these last this last quarter being so packed. It's like he doesn't see. I mean, it wouldn't be strange. We've already seen that where it's like obviously the whole like Tarbean thing. That made it probably impossible for them to ever see each other again. But it's like how much time will pass by in the last quarter of this book, and is it short enough to where it wouldn't be weird? Is it like 3 months where it's like that's not seeing Denna for 3 months isn't weird, isn't strange. So I don't know. We'll see. Let me know what your predictions are, how you felt about this last 23 chapters. I guess that's it. Till next time, read the chapters, and we'll see if he meets Denna again and how he plans to kill Ambrose.